All right, so hello everybody and welcome to our session. It's called Monitoring Your Modern Applications in VMware 7. And before we start, I would just like to show today's agenda before the session. If you have any questions during the session, please send them in the questions dialog and we will try to answer them during the session and in the Q&A in the end. If any questions are left unanswered, we will make sure they will be sent out in the follow-up after the event, so you know that. So my name is Jonas Lenton. I work at Opslogics in Sweden. I also have my two colleagues, Vincent de Vries and Michel Kemp from the Netherlands, who will co-present, and Michel will also assist with any questions that you might have in the chat, so you know that. But before we start, just some quick words about us. So Opslogics was established back in 2009 and have been active in management pack development since then. In 2019, Opslogics acquired Approved Consulting in Sweden, and that is the reason why me and my Swedish colleagues joined Opslogics. Opslogics now offer both products and services with a strong focus on Operations Manager and Azure Log Analytics and Azure Monitor. But let's see and move on to VMware. So VMware 7 was released in April this year. So if you work with VMware, you probably notice many new exciting features released in vSphere 7. Many of them perhaps out of scope for this session, as we will primarily focus on the monitoring parts. In today's session, we will focus on some of the new features in VMware vSphere 7 that we would like to address. That includes a brief overview of the updates to the hypervisor, the release of Kubernetes support natively in vSphere, and also some updates to VMware vSANs. Other updates that is worth mentioning is the improved workload-centric DRS, improved vMotion, and the unified vSphere Lifecycle Manager. Additional to the Kubernetes support, we also see some improvements in the hypervisor and vCenter. So we can see that the hosts per cluster have increased to 96, previously 64. The hosts per vCenter server increased from 2,000 to 2,500 hosts. We got more powered on VM support from 25,000 to 30,000, as well as extended latency for vCenter server requests. We also saw many updates to the functionality within vCenter server that is worth bringing up. So now let's move on to the more exciting parts. Over the years, we have seen a shift in the deployment of servers and applications from traditional deployment to virtualized and now containerized deployments. One reason is, of course, the flexibility of the cloud and the usage of containers. A hot topic with our clients has been how to take control and monitor containers and Kubernetes clusters. More exactly, the Kubernetes clusters running on-prem. Containers are a lightweight and portable way to distribute and run applications across the operating systems and clouds. And one of the more common solutions we see here is Kubernetes. For that reason, we are very excited that VMware now brings Kubernetes natively into VMware vSphere. This will introduce better transparency between developers, vSphere administrators, and IT operations. And of course, we need a solid storage platform to rely on. That's why we are also glad to see improvements on VMware vSAN. So VMware vSAN is a core component for the delivery of your software-defined data center. The newly added monitoring capabilities with Skyline Health will assist your IT operation with even better app-to-cloud visibility of your business-critical applications running in the VMware platform. Here we see simplified lifecycle management, native file services, and enhanced cloud-native storage. vSAN is also the preferred storage platform for running Kubernetes on VMware. But now let's move on to the Opslogics VMware Management Pack. So the VMware Management Pack have been a trusted and evolving solution back since 2013. Our focus has always been to ensure that you have a business-critical monitoring of your VMware platform inside of SCOM. We designed it from the beginning to be efficient, robust, and lightweight for both VMware and to give a low performance footprint in the SCOM as possible. The management pack is easy to deploy, easy to use with templates, and self-deploying components. For organizations to successfully implement monitoring of VMware, our solution is cost-effective, scalable, and of course, enterprise-ready. We have implemented high security standards with a zero-touch policy with read-only accounts and respects for firewall limitations. So with the new release of VMware 7, I wanted to talk a little bit about the new features in our VMware Management Pack to show how we align to the latest release from VMware. So to start with, we actually announced support for the new VMware 7 2 weeks ago, I think, and we now support ESXi 5.5 up to 7. We support vCenter 5.5 up to 7. We support vSON 6.7 till 7. We also introduced some new features and support for Skyline Health for both 6.7 and 7. We also introduced with the new workloads added some scale-out functionality within our collector that Vincent will demonstrate later on. And we optimized the data collection a lot to lower the performance impact in SCOM. We are also at the moment under development with introducing support for the new Kubernetes functionality within VMware. So we hopefully will be able to provide you monitoring of the namespaces and different workloads and resources within your Kubernetes clusters inside of vSphere. And as mentioned previously, our VMware Management Pack is evolving, and we are going from a more traditional VMware monitoring where you have a host and virtual machine perspective towards a more modern way of monitoring. This gives you direct visibility into your data center, edge, or public cloud, all within VMware vSphere and inside of Operations Manager. So with this, I would like to introduce Vincent de Vries that's going to show some of our new features in our management pack. So let's see if I can hand over the control.
Jonas, if you want to make Vincent a presenter, you can go to attendees, right-click, and then give him presenter rights.
I think I managed to.
Perfect.
Hopefully.
Yep.
So let's see, Vincent, you will have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I could not unmute myself. Let's see, which screen am I showing? Or am I showing anything yet?
We can see your SCOM environment at the moment.
Awesome. So that's the screen I want to show. Okay, thank you for the intro, Jonas. Let's jump right into it because there is not a lot of time, and I think some people are actually wanting to go to lunch. What I have here is our latest version of the VMware Management Pack. And of course, like Jonas said, we've been working hard to get everything VMware 7 compliant. So that's what we've done here. And I'd like to show you, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 things within, well, I would say 10 to 15 minutes. Which is a lot, but let's get through it. I'd like to show you our new scale-out feature for the VMware Management Pack. I'd like to talk about the collector improvements. I'd like to talk about vSAN, which we implemented in the Management Pack, the Skyline monitors, and possibly some cool dashboards if we have any time. Okay, so let's first talk about the scale-out feature we have. What we do in the VMware Management Pack is basically we connect into Operations Manager, into your vCenter server, and we make use of the API to monitor your VMware environments. Now, this is the connection and everything under that is discovered. When we go to the administration pane, you can actually connect things in your administration dashboard or configuration dashboard. And what you see here is we have a vCenter connection, which is called vCenter simulator.contoso.com. Now, the problem here is that we have a class model which adheres to Microsoft best practice, but which has a parent model and many children. So basically, we have a connection. Under that are data centers with a hosting relationship. Under that are VMs and ESX hosts with a hosting relationship. And this all rolls up very nicely when you look into your Health Explorer. The only problem is when your environment gets really big, when you have say over 5,000 VMs, over 300 ESX hosts, which is in an enterprise is quite normal, then it becomes very hard to for a single management server to handle this. Now, the typical response for people to do this is to say, well, we can put things into a resource pool and have multiple management servers handle the load, which we did as well. But the caveat here is that when you have a parent-child relationship with so many objects, all the child objects, they actually always travel with the parent. So when you fail over, for instance, say a connection in our management pack to a different management server, it will take all the VMs and ESX hosts to the other management server, which is something which is not something we'd like to do, because then you go from one overloaded management server to another overloaded management server. So what we did here is we allowed you to split a connection into a couple of groups. So let's say this is becoming really big, the vCenter simulator, say we have like 10,000 or 8 to 10,000 VMs and I don't know, says 800 hosts. We want to have 2 management servers monitor this load. Then what we can do is we can check enable scale out. And if you want to learn more about it, just click the link, then you're redirected to a web page. And we select the scale out level. So this is how many groups, so to how many management servers you can actually scale it. You can choose whatever you like, but if you have 2 management servers, then 2 is a good number to do because you don't have many more groups you can scale over. So we check the connection. That's always what you need to do before it actually makes any configuration changes. We'll click add update. And what you'll notice, which happens right now, is that it splits our connection into groups. Now, these groups are put on the different management servers. We can actually see that here when we assign the monitoring of our ESX hosts. You can see group 1, 2, but you can also see it in the monitoring pane when we check our connections, because we have groups here now. For the rest, all the monitoring is perfectly transparent, so you won't notice anything else in your monitoring. So this is just for scalability purposes. Okay, having said that, let's head on to our OpsLogix VMware collector service. Before, we never made use of a collector service, and we weren't a real fan of it to have something separate, because we don't want to install or have you install separate software in order to run a management pack. Well, basically what we do now is we deploy this collector service with the management pack. So it's still, you don't need to do anything, just import the management pack and everything will happen for you. What does this very lightweight collector service do? Well, it basically starts collecting information from your vCenter server, and it does that in an optimized manner. So the way it does that is by caching. So it actually gets all the values from your vCenter server, checks them, and if there are actually values which have not changed, then it will not give the change value to SCOM, because that just saves a lot of CPU cycles and a lot of resources for SCOM itself. So there's optimization there. One of the reasons we also started using a collector is because we used to write modules for the health service. And what happens there is typically once you start getting into a lot of objects, you get a very high handle count. And a very high handle count is kind of a deadly thing to a SCOM agent or the health service of the SCOM agent. So if you get to a large amount of objects, then all of a sudden your SCOM agent could conk out. So this actually remedies that, because the handle count stays very low when you use a collector service. That is one of the things, and one of the things we changed to and are continually changing in the management pack is also the optimized counters. Now the counters, you might have performance counters, you might know the optimized counters, but we consistently do that now in our management pack. So as to save your data warehouse. And of course, when you use optimize collection, your data warehouse will not receive all the updates, only the delta updates or the changed updates from a counter. So those are a few things the collector does, and it makes very efficient use of everything. You know, we've tried a couple of different methods in the past, collecting through WMI, but our experience with using WMI was not all that great because we did that in our ping management pack. And if you go up to about 1,800 objects in SCOM, then it starts to become, WMI becomes very unstable. So also our ping management pack, we changed over to using native.NET libraries. Okay, that was a little bit on the VMware collector. What I'd like to show you now is a run through vSAN. We'll quickly connect to a different SCOM environment where we run vSAN. Okay. So when we scroll down, you can see that we have a separate section here for vSAN. Well, what we did is we wrote a separate management pack on top of our VMware management pack, specifically for vSAN and vSAN 7. And basically, what happens is when it detects that that you have vSAN installed in your VMware environment, it starts discovering it. So you can see that it detects all the disks, and it will also detect all your normal disks in your ESX host. And it'll start looking at the disk groups. So we have 2 disk groups here now for our vSAN, and we have 1 vSAN cluster, which is, I think, cluster 01. And when we look here, it is in our vSAN service. Right there. So what we did is we created a couple of dashboards to help you with just monitoring your vSAN clusters, and usually it's only really the performance of it. And there's also some availability, but the performance of your vSAN cluster will be critical. So we have used capacity, free capacity bytes. Well, I can run through all the metrics, but you know, you can take a look for yourself there. We look at the disk group capacity, the latency, throughput, and latency performance. And those are a few counters which are very specific to vSAN itself and basically the health of your vSAN. Now, there's also another combination which I would like to highlight there, is when we actually go to all the monitors and we open the Health Explorer. One feature we implemented is the Skyline monitors. Now, there are a lot of Skyline monitors in VMware, vSphere, which you can use. And these are basically like advisors in SCOM itself. And they tell you if your environment is healthy and if you're adhering to best practice. Well, we can see a few things here, Sky Health in combination with vSAN. And we can see something about the SCSI controller, that it might not be certified. There's another critical here about the vSAN HCLDB, which is not up to date apparently. But these, you know, these tell you a lot about your configuration of your vSAN environment. So when you load the management pack, you can instantly see, you know, if there's any room for improvement there. So it does leave me a little bit of time for showing off some dashboards. We created a few new dashboards and also for vSAN itself. So we have the vSAN overall health dashboard. Hope I don't have to log in again, which shows you all the key metrics for it. And of course, also the health of it. We have a couple of criticals here, which we might need to resolve, but we can also see the capacity and, you know, bytes used, free bytes and so forth. You could probably change this around yourself too. One new one which we've done is the OpsLogix VMware, so the general one. And there you can see all your ESXi hosts, which are there, and you can see some performance metrics. The key performance metrics obviously are CPU, memory, and somewhat bandwidth, which you have there. And also for the community, we have the ping MP, and we've also created a dashboard for that, where you can see things like, well, device lags, jitter, those kind of things, those kind of metrics. All right, I'd like to reserve some time now for Q&A, and I think you can ask either me, Jonas, or Michelle if you have any questions about all of this.
Yeah, I think, Vincent, if you can give back the presentation to me, I can share my screen before.
Yes.
Let's see if we can get this to work.
How do I give it back to you? Let's see. I think Harold is doing it for me.
Yeah, see which screen is showing. Hopefully it's the presentation there. All right, can you see my dashboard at the moment, or the presentation?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes. So as Vincent mentioned, we created some dashboard for Squared Up that has been requested for quite a while now. So we have released the VMware Management Pack community dashboard for Squared Up. We also this week released the Ping Management Pack community dashboard for Squared Up. And one of our popular downloads of the year have been the Ping Management Pack. That is, well, we want to highlight that again because that's we get many downloads per day still using that one as a lightweight alternative to Ping alerting within SCOM instead of using the built-in functionality. We also introduced this week a new community management pack called the Alert Storm Management Pack, that actually goes into SCOM and looks if there are multiple alerts of the same type, or just in general that you have a lot of alerts happening. This could be the case that, for example, you have maybe 1,000 ping devices up and running, and you only have like the average jitter set to warning. But if all of these 1,000 devices from some type of reason, or the data store latency in your VMware environment started to create a lot of noise, that might indicate that there is a bigger issue inside your SCOM environment. So this management pack actually addressed that issue. If you want to have look if there's some alert storms going on inside of SCOM, you can actually configure this one. So take a look at the links here, and I think that Harold will send out presentations afterwards as well. So let's move on to the Q&A. I saw that we have some questions going on. So one from Peter Nilsson is that the dashboards, yes, they do require Squared Up. We actually did the most of this development towards Squared Up because we see that as one of the most frequently asked requirements from our clients when it comes to dashboarding. Instead of putting a lot of efforts, we still have a lot of dashboards inside of SCOM that you can use out of the box. All right, so I have a question for Michelle and Vincent as well. So Michelle, I think that you can unmute yourself if you can answer the questions later on. It's not possible to have an offsite collector for no trust locations, like installing a collector on a demilitarized zone gateway or similar.
Could you repeat it again, because the chat window isn't showing me any questions?
No, and I can't assign them to you either, so I have to read them out.
I can answer it.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, yes, you can. You can use a gateway server to run the management pack, and if you want to run that in demilitarized zone, you can do that. There's the only requirement for the management pack is that you have a SCOM connection.
Yeah, so like if we install the gateway in the DMZ and install the collector, or put that gateway into resource pool and then assign that to the VMware monitoring, it could work as a offsite connector. Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
I hope that answers your question, Örjan. So we also had one other question coming up, if we have anything for monitoring VMware Horizon, and that's nothing that we have today. We got some requests over the years, but VMware Horizon sometimes still is built upon ESX, but with an additional lot of components built on top of it. So we don't have anything today, and from what I know, I don't know if there is any other solution for VMware Horizon. Okay, we have a question how it's licensed. The licensing, if it's per CPU or ESX hosts. We do license per CPU, so per physical CPU. So you know that. So if you have, in this example, 1200 ESX hosts, you need to take a look how many CPUs you have in each host. And we do have a knowledge base explain that, or even scripts, I think, Michelle, that could actually help you with getting that information.
I'd like to stress that we don't license per core, but per physical CPU.
Per physical CPU, not per core. So it's really important to verify that. So is it possible to collect any events from the hardware, example from Cisco UCS layer, the Fiber Interconnect?
Physical hardware as in, you mean the ESXi hosts?
Yeah, I guess so. I know that we have monitors for the, we have hardware monitors that VMware picks up from the ESXi hosts.
Yeah.
We're not collecting any events specific, but we can though create alerts from vCenter. So if you have some specific type of alerts that's being collected, you can raise them in vCenter, and then we can create an alert out of that.
We do discover events, hardware events, so it is in there.
Yeah, so basically what happens is when you, all the ESXi hardware is monitored, providing that you install the right drivers onto your ESXi host with the custom images. If you have another appliance in vSphere, then you could actually monitor that too, but that's just through the events which come through vCenter. But you know, just if it's about the hardware, the ESXi hardware, we have full support for monitoring hardware.
All right, I think that was all the questions. I know that we are running out of time now, so if there's any other question, you can always send an email to us at info@opslogics.com. If anybody's interested in testing out new features for vSAN, etc., send us an email and we'll make sure you will get started. We do offer a free trial for the solution that is downloadable directly on the website, so please sign up if you're interested. And with this, I would like to thank all of you for joining our session and hand over to Harold.
Thank you, Harold. Bye-bye.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jonas, Vince.